Alright, hey there guys, Eater the Guest here, aka JediBro95, coming at you guys with another video. In this video is a video that honestly is long overdue. This video is going to be just discussing, in my opinion, the most overrated 2K. Honestly, in my opinion, it's the most overrated 2K ever because a lot of people view this 2K in a great light. But let's not forget that at the time, it was a lot of people were just considering it the worst 2K ever. Now, a lot of people throughout the years have claimed the most recent 2K is the worst 2K ever. But this year is the only time I'm really gonna have this conversation, and the 2K18, because this 2K in question was just so awful, so bad that it makes me wonder how people can defend NBA 2K17 and the hurricane of crap that it was in that game. And I inadvertently revealed it. It's 2K17. This game, in my opinion, is the most overrated 2K I have ever seen in my life, largely because there's a lot of things in in that game that have plagued the franchise since then, but nobody ever talks about it. So the first thing I want to touch on is the archetype system. Now, when they first announced it back in the summer of 2016, that you could make archetypes, you could define your roles and your playstyle and shit, I was sold because I was like, you know what, this looks cool. You can actually decide how you play. You can define how you play your game, how you play the game, and each archetype had its own set of strengths and weaknesses. So I was like, you know what, cool. But the problem is that after a little bit, once we started playing with them, it became very obvious that you couldn't do anything outside of your archetype. Okay, like if you wanted to be a good off dribble shooter, yeah, granted, yes, slashers had a good shot off the dribble, but I don't know a lot of people that really upgraded their off dribble shooting with a slashing build. Same with um, finishing and other builds and shit like that. Like, there's a lot of minimal diversity in the archetypes, and there's also basic and simplistic that if you tried to do anything outside of your archetypes' strengths and weaknesses, it was just a complete nightmare. And a lot of people turned on the archetype system shortly thereafterwards. I think maybe like a couple of days in, I saw people like Agent Zero saying that 2K should implement it so you can have double or triple archetypes because that would make the game a lot more enjoyable. And I was one of those people that did agree because, truth be told, the archetype system was just that bad. So I don't understand why everyone shits on the 2K 21 pie charts and saying, oh, it's basically dual archetypes and shit. But yet 2K17 had single archetypes, and they were so goddamn bad that when 2K confirmed that there was going to be double archetypes in 2K18, everyone was hyped, myself included. I was like, finally, something, I don't have to play as one bare bones, basic ass fucking archetype that's only good at one thing. I can do multiple things. I can, make a fucking shot creating slasher or a playmaking slasher, which is what I went with. So I don't understand how everybody shits on the archetype system, but then gives 2K17 a free pass because that was a game that introduced the archetype system to us. Next, we talk about the pay to win mechanics. I know a lot of people, especially guys in my team, are just blind to the fact that my team is pay to win and shit like that. But people in my team community, y'all gotta wake up and realize that it is pay to win. And 2K17 was the first year that 2K really and truly made my team system pay to win. Okay, outside from the terrible loot box system, the first thing that I remember from the my team in NBA 2K17, and honestly, I can't pull up on the screen right now because I don't have the game installed because I refuse to touch it because I'm afraid I'll get fucking like AIDS or something like that. And the second reason is just because the servers are turned off now, so I can't go into my team on 2K17 no more. But in 2K17, the my team, how it started was basically like you got like the best card in the game was 85 overall Sapphire cards, and if you wanted to get better cards of that specific player, you either had to wait for new sets. Wait for the player to have a great game because then they would introduce moments because that's when they introduced like in-game moments cards. I think it was either that or 2K16, but 2K17 was when they really ran with it. Or you had to just wait until like yeah, that was basically it. You had to wait for them to play well or wait for a new set to get a better card of that kind. And obviously this promoted pay to win because you got stuck with an overall, like an 85 overall. Let's say you had an 85 overall LeBron James And granted, yes, that may be great at the beginning of the year. However, as the year progresses and time continues to go by, you really start to realize that the card in question, because of all the other cards that have released and shit, they're not going to be as great. Whereas in 2K16, even if you opened up a pack containing like I remember back in 2K17 with their My Team packs, 2K16, one thing they did that I really think they should bring back is those current player overalls, kind of like what they did this year, but do it at the beginning of the year. So that way, no matter when you join My Team, you're not felt at a disadvantage if you open up a pack and say you get an Amethyst 94 overall LeBron, for example. You're not at a disadvantage, and you can still compete. You may not do well, but you at least can compete against players in NBA 2K's My Team. However, this year when they took that away, and ultimately it just doomed My Team because it promoted pay to win. It promoted the use of microtransactions and having to buy VC, so that way you can buy more boxes to open up packs for the My Team. Also, this was the first year that 2K. This was the year that 2K upped the price of VC by 50%. So if we're all going to complain about the pay-to-win mechanics and the VC being so expensive, well, guess what? This was the year that they implemented that, but nobody ever fucking talks about that because they just choose to have they're just completely blind to the shit in NBA 2K17, and they just completely ignore everything bad about the game, which is just frustrating to me because, again, the game was terrible. Also, they got rid of, this is a small thing for My Team, but it was also kind of a part of the pay to win problem as well. They got rid of the ability to buy boxes with MT, which again is a small thing, but when you consider the fact that you could sell cards to get MT and then you can use that MT to buy another 10 or 20 box of cards, it makes you not have to dip in your money, so that way you can be like, okay, maybe I'll sell a few cards, maybe auction off a few cards. Oh, cool, now I got enough. Let's buy a 10 box. But everyone just forgot about that for some fucking reason, which is dumb as shit. So, I don't know. But yeah, so they got rid of that, and they basically, if you wanted to buy cards in bulk, you were forced to buy it with VC, and that was just completely disgusting because it really just did show that 2K just did not give a shit no more when it came to the My Team overall and progression and shit like that. Also, if we're talking about My Team rewards, the fucking locker codes were like great rewards, like pink diamond cards were only exclusive to locker codes. I know, again, it might be a small thing, but I fucking hated that in 2K17's My Team. I did not want to have to stalk NBA 2K's Twitter, My Team's Twitter, just to make sure I got a locker code for a card. That was dumb. I think it was completely stupid, and that was one of the reasons I just hated NBA 2K17's My Team. It was by far the worst My Team experience in the 2K franchise, and there was a lot of reasons as to why. This was the year I really started just sitting there saying that My Team was just a pay-to-win game mode, because it was. That's when it truly became pay-to-win. Moving away from My Team, let's talk about Play Now Online. A small thing, but it's really it's important. Play Now Online was given a new lease on life with the tier system and being able to pick whatever tiers you wanted. And sure, they may have implemented new classic teams and shit. However, when it came to the classic teams, one, there certain teams like the Cavs and the modern day Cavs and the 2017 and 27 Cavs and Warriors, they were both tier 1 teams. So even if you matched up with, say, like a tier 1 team like the 2008 Boston Celtics, I think they were a tier 1 team. If you matched up against them with the modern day Warriors, that's a win for the modern day Warriors each time, which is dumb. And also, like, a lot of historic teams were given high tier ratings, which was weird. I never understood that. Granted, they did fix it in NBA 2K18, but Play Now Online in 17 was just stupid. Moving on from that, let's actually go back to my career, because this one is the one that really irks me. Because My career story, it was terrible. This was the first year second year, because 2K16 story was honestly pretty bad. But 2K17's My career story, it was god awful. Okay, I liked the one thing I did like, and this is the only thing I liked about 2K17's My career story, was the fact that you got to pick what college you went to, because you got to go to college and move up into like the lottery and shit like that. That is the only thing I liked about 2K17's My career story. Other than that, everything was terrible. The orange juice bullshit was complicated and stupid. Nobody asked for that shit. I don't know why 2K thought it was a cool idea to implement it. Like, seriously? No, it was stupid. It was a dumb, dumb, dumb idea. The MyCourt in 2K6 to 2K17 was garbage, until you got a connection for endorsements. But even then, you had to play like a long ass time to get fucking endorsements because they came so few and far between. So that was a pain in the ass. Also, having to upgrade certain attributes like free throw, shot IQ, hands. I think what was another one? Offensive consistency. That was the biggest one that you had to upgrade. You could only upgrade it through practice, and you can only upgrade it through like you can only get like +1 every 3 or 4 drills you did. That was dumb because that forced people to have to do this glitch that I don't like promoting glitches and shit, but that was the only year I was cool with people doing this glitch because it was really tough to having to upgrade all those attribute points just to be able to get a better free throw, get a better shot IQ, better offensive consistency. Stamina was another one that you had to upgrade through that, which was, oh my god. The upgrading in 2K17 was absolute garbage. Like, I don't understand why 2K thought, hey guys, let's put like certain attributes into like gym workouts and you only get like +1 every 3 or 4 drills. Like, if it was +1 every drill or like a +2 every other drill, I could get on board with that because you're not having to spend eons and eons of hours and hours to fucking upgrade those. But when you have a situation where it's only a +1 every like 3 or 4 upgrades, it gets maybe even more than that. It gets to a point where you're just like, oh my god, do I even want to play this anymore? So that was a disaster of a fucking um, shit. The badges in 2K17. This was one of the worst. This was honestly the worst thing about the archetype system. Not the fact that it was so limiting. The worst thing about the archetype system in 2K17 was the fact that you only got 5 Hall of Fame badges max. Every other badge you earned, if it was outside your archetype, you could only earn on bronze. So if you got made a shot creator, well, you couldn't get fucking relentless finisher on gold or Hall of Fame. You had to settle for bronze. Same with fucking sharpshooters getting fucking difficult shots because difficult shots wasn't a badge for the sharpshooters. It was only for the shot creators. And grinding for the grand badge. Oh my goodness, it was awful. Having to do so much amounts of fucking garbage just to get your grand badge was just completely and utterly tedious and annoying to have to go through. Oh my lord. Okay, I know I'm saying oh my lord and going like what the fuck basically the entire thing, but I'm really just ranting off right now everything that was wrong with 2K17, and I'm just wondering how the fuck can people still say that this was one of the greatest 2Ks ever. And I have not mentioned the park once until now. Let's talk about the park, shall we? Because the park in NBA 2K17 was complete trash. It was so bad that it made me question why were there even affiliations anymore. Because let's start with the affiliations themselves. Affiliations meant nothing in NBA 2K17. The fact that you are a rider, a rough rider, a Old Town Flyer, or a Sunset Beach Baller meant nothing. You had no value in the game outside of your whatever you repped. Like, sure, you may have gotten a boost for it, but at the same time, though, the reason why I say it was complete ass is because you could play with anybody. You didn't have to be all in the same neighborhood or in the same affiliation. You could go team up with like 2 Rivet Cities and a Sunset, or a Rivet City and a fucking, or a Rivet City and an Old Town and 2 Rivet Cities and Old Town. Like, you could team up with anybody. So it completely took out the point of Rival Day. It made competing against other players and representing your affiliation pointless as fuck. So Why were there even affiliations in the game? And here's the big part about the park gameplay that completely just blows my mind of how everyone can just forget this. Everyone gets on 2K for having the exact same neighborhood in 2K20 compared from 2K19. The parks were literally the same from 2K16 to 2K17. All they did was just make it nighttime. I wish I was kidding about that. Go look up NBA 2K17 parks and go look up 2K16 parks. They're literally the same shit, just in a different time of the day. They were that copy and paste, but yet everyone just completely forgot that for some reason. I don't know why, but it's absolutely crazy to me how people just forgot that. Like, how? How can you just forget that? Especially when you consider the fact that everyone massacred 2K20 for basically being a copy and paste of 2K19. But yet, for some reason, people legit just forget that they copied and pasted the parks from NBA 2K16 to 2K17, and it was god awful. The rep system in NBA 2K17 was also bad. Okay, it wasn't terrible. It wasn't like 2K19 level of bad, but it was still pretty bad. Granted, you still had your same All-Star, Superstar, Hall of the Legend, and shit like that. I can't remember all the rep in that game, but one thing that I really didn't like about NBA 2K17's rep was the fact that they literally purposefully hid your final upgrades behind a rep wall. That irritated me because I did not have the patience nor desire to want to grind all the way to Legend to get my final 10 attribute point upgrades so I can be a 99 overall. 2K basically cut you off at 95 and then forced you to play Park to get to your 99. That was dumb. That was stupid. Why did they think of that? I don't know. Because there's a lot of people out there that don't have the time or desire to want to play for that long. Now, if it was badge points, like it was this year, or like, say, the ability to upgrade 10 badges, I could understand that. But, like, you're putting attribute points behind rep wall, which is just, it doesn't make any sense. Because majority of the players in the community aren't going to play all the way to Legend. That's just impossible. So, alright, now that I've calmed down for a second, let me actually give you a calm note here. Personally, I do not understand why people are so enamored with NBA 2K17. I think a lot of it is just the fact that people, that was their first 2K they ever played, and so they have fond memories of the first time they ever played. And honestly, if it is your first 2K, that's fine. But if you're going to sit there and make blanket statement arguments that it is the greatest 2K ever, please do yourself due diligence. Go back and look at the people that were playing NBA 2K17 at the time, or playing I can't talk, previous 2Ks before that. Because I think a lot of hardcore players, even though time has continued to go by and a lot of things get distorted, I think if you brought this up to a lot of hardcore players, I think they would even agree that this was something that everyone just completely forgot about. One more thing I forgot to mention. Defense in NBA 2K17 was awful. It was awful because of the brick wall spam, because it was just so OD. It seemed like every other play I was getting knocked over from a brick wall screen from a glass cleaner, and that was just mind-blowing. Also, I guess a couple more things actually. There was no archetype diversity in NBA 2K17. It was literally just playmakers and strict shooters. There was no diversity. You would rarely see lockdown defenders, post scorers, or at least I didn't see many post scorers. Lockdown defenders, post scorers, slashers you didn't see very much. Glass cleaners, after about maybe the first week, completely dropped off the face of the planet. So, I cannot stress it enough. 2K17, in my opinion, is the most overrated 2K in history, and I am of the belief that it is one of the worst 2Ks in history. And for those of you that disagree with me, let me know in the comments, because I want to hear this conversation. Because there's probably going to be a lot of people that well, there's not probably going to be. There's going to be a lot of people that view 2K17 with rose-colored glasses and just remember all the good times they had. But if you really take a step back and remember everything in the game, you will come to realize that 2K17 was a mid 2K at best. It was not a GOAT game. It was not a game worth remembering. If I'm going to be honest, it's a game that we should all forget existed and pretend never existed because it was that bad. Now, with that being said, I do want to sit there and say that I don't think it's the worst ever, but it is definitely up there. So, that being said, I know I've just said that like 3 or 4 times in the last couple of seconds. But with that being said, gentlemen, I will see you in the next video. My next video is more than likely going to be covering the news about the 2K21 My Player Builder and shit for next gen. But yeah, with that, I'm out. Peace.